Okay, so right now I'm really sick. I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm drunk. Well, not really drunk. I've been drinking, so I'm relaxed. I haven't drinking enough to where I'm like slurring my words or anything. So um, uh, I'm decided to record what I was saying a moment ago to myself. I talk to myself often because I ain't got nobody to talk to. I live in a house where my dad is drunk incoherently every time he's about ready to go to bed because that's the only way he can go to bed. And I'm by myself in this little room. So I'm going to talk to the camera because I know at least 5 people are going to watch this video and they're going to see it. And my only hope is that they watch it to the end because what I'm going to talk about today is memory, which is something my brother recently and in the past quite often repeatedly said he doesn't have, or he says is bad. My memory doesn't work. My memory is bad. Those kind of things. And I know all about memory. I know all about the mind because I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks and freaking depression and bullcrap. And I had to educate myself on the mind in order to properly um, cope with those disabilities. And I learned a lot of stuff that I'd like to share. First of all, the mind is like any other muscle in the body. Just like when you sit on your butt all day drinking beer, like me, you get a beer gut because you're out of shape and you don't exercise in that area. You have to like sit-ups, crunches, leg lifts, and all kinds of stuff that is really hard to do when you're out of shape, and it's really hard to keep doing to stay in shape. Uh, in a similar manner, your mind is like your body's muscles in that if you don't exercise parts of your mind won't work as well as it could, like the memory. My brother does not exercise like me, and he does all of his work or pleasure or activities behind a computer sitting down all the time, 24/7 basically, because, well, we don't live in a very um, good environment that would allow him to do otherwise. Um, the point is that the reason your memory doesn't work so well is because you don't use it so well. I will give an example. When I was in my early teens, I started playing a game online, and it took my whole life away. I played that game for 5 years, accumulating 3 years game time on the game. That's 3 years spent in game out of a 5 year span. It literally sucked my life away, and I was in the same boat. I couldn't remember hardly anything that I wanted to remember, if I even wanted to remember it, because I had no reason to. I was playing a video game. The information was already readily available online. Why would I need to remember it? That's the way our mind works. If we don't need or don't see the need to remember something because it's readily available, all I have to do is Google search and I get the answer. Our mind doesn't remember it. It doesn't need to. Well, after that 5 year period of time went by, my dad got sick and he didn't lose his job, but he couldn't work anymore. Uh, he had a problem with his legs. And we found ourselves in a pretty big pinch, going from great income to no income, owing rent, owing power bills, water bills, all that good stuff that you need to survive in our current society. And so something switched, like flicked in my mind, and I quit playing the video game. I quit playing all video games. I went outside and I started can hunting day by day to make money for the power bill. I started working, and eventually at the age of 23, I mustered up the courage under the guise of a cup of wine to relax my nerves. I went to our local college and applied. I made it in, barely. I was 2 points from failing the math portion of the whatever the test is called that lets you get in. And so I was in college, and I stuck to it. The first semester, I had to carry a notepad with me everywhere I went in order to remember stuff, like where my classes were, what I needed to remember in the classes, and I had notebooks for each class, and I wrote down everything that I heard, basically, that I thought was important. And by the end of that semester, I no longer had a notebook. I no longer had a notepad. Well, that's a lie. I had a notebook. I didn't have a notepad. I had a notepad that I carried in my pocket, and I would just like quickly write what I needed to remember, put it in my pocket, and I carried it around with me. I didn't need that anymore because I remembered it. Literally, all it took was one semester of college to switch my brain from being a vegetable into being a brain. It said, oh, we need to remember this information, don't we? We don't have the internet for this stuff. We got to remember it, because if we don't, we're not going to be ready for class. We're not going to be on time. This, that, and the other thing. 2 semesters in, I joined the Phi Theta Kappa, which is like the prominent league in our college. That's their name, and I became a representative for making frappuccinos and stuff like that. I went to the cafeteria every morning at 6 a.m. and made frappuccinos, and I had to remember how to make them, which I did, because my memory was already getting stronger and stronger the more I used it. It was really cool. I mean, not at the time. At the time, I was stupid. I didn't know anything, literally. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. That only a semester, and by the way, a semester is like 3 months long. So in 3 months, I was able to start remembering stuff that I would have never thought I could have remembered in the past. And that all leads back to what I was saying before, in that our minds are muscles, just like our arms, biceps, triceps, lats, glutes. All that stuff needs to be worked out in order to be more efficient and defined. So if you want your memory to work, you have to use it. And if you're browsing the internet all day, it won't get better. Unless you are browsing the internet with the intent to improve your memory, which there are tons of stuff out there to do. But you don't need the internet to improve your memory. Very simple, easy way to improve your memory is to develop a system where you ask questions in advance. I'll give you an example. If you have a favorite book that you like to read, which, by the way, does not help your memory. It does not. If you're reading fiction, fan fiction, non-fiction, any of that stuff, it's not going to help your memory. Unless you ask questions ahead of time. And this system does work. Let's say you go into your favorite book, and I'm going to grab this because it's right next to me. And I'm reading off something I take. It's a natural antibiotic called Colloidal Silver, but this is like a name brand. They call it Sovereign Silver. Anyway, I'm going to read this off, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by asking your own questions ahead of time. So let's say you pop into your own book, and you read, bioactive silver hydrosol represents the ultimate refinement of colloidal silver category. That's the first sentence. In that first sentence, you would ask a question that you would have to remember later. So it says, bioactive silver hydrosol represents the ultimate refinement of colloidal silver category. So I would ask the question, and I'd write it down. I write this question down in advance. What does bioactive silver hydrosol represent? And I'd leave the question at that. And then I continue to read for where the next sentence starts. And it says, it contains greater than 98% bioactive silver in a pharmaceutical grade purified water. And sentence. I'd write down another question. And the question I would ask myself is what is the percentage in which bioactive silver has purified water in it? That's the question. And the answer is 98%. And I continue to read. And at the end of 2-3 chapters of your book that you're finished reading, where you're content with how much you've read, with your questions all lined out on a piece of paper, then you'd read through it casually to enjoy the story. In other words, the first time you read through it, you're reading with an objective to improve your memory. The second time you read through it, you're reading with the intent to enjoy the story. It's like you're shifting your mind's gears, which also exercises the mind. And then, after you read through it, that second time with the objective to enjoy the story, you go to your question sheet and you do your best to answer the questions. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. The fact that you're trying to answer the questions is building neurons, connect little diode looking things in your memory that connect to each other and become stronger and become more intrinsic. That's probably not the right word, but they become stronger. And so if you did that every single night, I would estimate that within a month, your memory's efficiency would increase 10%. I kid you not. Because within a month of doing, let's say you're out of shape, and within a month of doing 3 sets of 10 push-ups every single day on a regular scheduled basis, minus the times that you're sore, because you're not supposed to work out when you're sore, because the soreness is your muscles repairing themselves. So if you become in a state of fatigue mentally while you're reading a book, don't read a book. Just go to the side and do something else, because that's your mind telling you, I'm a little tired, give me a break. I'm not used to this. So back to the point, if you did sit-ups every single day, 3 sets of 10, by the end of a month, you'd have lost at least 3% of the fat on your stomach. At least 3%. Some people less, some people more. So in the same fashion, to improve your memory, if you did that every single night for a month, your memory would improve at least 10%, because the mind is like boom, boom, boom. It reacts a lot faster because it's a lot better at correcting itself. And yeah, I'm glad I was able to make this video, because this is the first time I've done this, for one thing, and I needed something to preoccupy my mind, because right now, like I said, I've got a massive headache, I've had a terrible day, and it makes me feel better to talk to you guys. That was a fly, and I missed him. It makes me feel better to talk to you guys and, you know, give you an insight, give you something to learn, teach you guys. Maybe some of you guys know about what I'm talking about, maybe not. And I hope that I was able to, you know, help you guys out in some way or form, even if it's just for entertainment purposes. That's all I'm really about, is helping other people. I'm not so good at it sometimes. I make mistakes. But yeah, all you can do is try and keep trying.